Mike White is out. Zach Wilson will start against the Detroit Lions. We'll talk about it right now on Fantasy Football Today. Welcome to this bonus podcast here. Adam Azer and Dave Richard. And man, this stinks. Everyone's favorite streaming quarterback. He's out, and he may not be able to play the following week because they have a Thursday game against the Jaguars. So really the question is about Garrett Wilson. Where was he in your rankings? Where will he be with this news, Dave?
He will be a borderline low-end number 2 wide receiver. And if that's depressing to you, it should be, because it's depressing to everybody. Look, this is a nightmare situation for fantasy managers. I'd like to give you some quick stats, if I may, Adam.
Yeah.
33 quarterbacks this year have attempted at least 175 passes in the National Football League. Zach Wilson ranks dead last or second to last in attempts per game, EPA per dropback, completions, completion rate, yards, touchdowns, touchdown rate, and quarterback rating. Other than that, he's been okay. He's top 4 in interceptions.
Great.
He is bottom 10 in yards per attempt. He is top 12 in ADOT. He's not the answer, and he's not worth trusting, obviously, even in a 2 quarterback league in the most important of fantasy matchups. And if he's not worth trusting, then it's going to be very hard to trust others who wear a New York Jet uniform against the Lions on Sunday.
Well, the last 3 games that Garrett Wilson played with Zach Wilson, he had 115 yards against New England. He had 92 yards against Buffalo. And then there was that game with the bad weather where Zach Wilson was dreadful and got benched. And Garrett Wilson had just 2 catches for 12 yards. But before that, 115 and 92 yards. So that I guess gives you a little bit of hope. So who did you move ahead of him? I'm assuming that means like Christian Watson's ahead of him now at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Garrett Wilson was a top 12 wide receiver for me in PPR. So now I've moved. Zay Jones is ahead of him. Mike Evans is ahead of him. Michael Pittman. You guys were a little higher on Pittman than I am, but Pittman's way ahead of him now. Guys like Cooper, Olave, Jalen Waddle. I mean, you could pretty much figure out where Garrett Wilson ranks compared to other big name, high profile wide receivers in fantasy. It is very hard to get excited about him and expect more than, call it, 15 or 16 PPR points.
Okay, now Mike White is rostered in 67% of leagues, so people were planning on starting him this week. They're going to have to pivot. I was going to start him in a league. I have to start Ryan Tannehill. Now that's who I picked up. Tannehill.
That's probably the best guy that you can go and get now off the waiver wire. Who's available?
Yeah.
Tannehill's available. Like, that's the one. Like, I can mention Derek Carr or Daniel Jones, but come on, those guys are rostered in too many leagues.
Right. So I'm going to name some players, and you're going to tell me who you like. Tannehill at the Chargers. Taylor Heineke against the Giants.
Yep.
Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, those are probably the top 3 right there. 16, 20, and 21 in my rankings.
How about Matt Ryan?
I'm not going to trust him against Minnesota, but I understand why some people would.
Okay.
I kind of like Brett Rippon against the Cardinals. Throwing to Jerry Jeudy and Greg Dulcich against that defense.
Let's talk about Zonovan Knight. Move him down?
Of course. Man, this sucks.
It's where? Behind like Foreman and Najee Harris?
Oh, yeah. He's behind him.
He's Murray?
Just behind them, though. I'm sorry.
Latavius Murray?
He's ahead of Latavius Murray, especially in PPR. Like, he could benefit from short throws. He might end up with 5 catches in the game. But the odds of him getting 100 total yards, there was a little bit of discomfort ranking him just because the Lions defense had been getting better against the run. Now it's going to be even more obvious. They're going to dare the Jets to throw on them.
Yeah.
Tough.
Big news for the Lions and the Lions DST. I don't know if you
Lions DST is catapulted into the top 10 for me.
Oh, wow.
So if you're streaming DSTs, consider the Lions. Who would I start them over? I would start them over the Packers against the Rams, Panthers, mentioned them on the show earlier on Friday, Bengals, now the Jets defense. I'd start them over the Jets defense. They have been playing well lately. I think they've been on some kind of tear where they've been putting up double-digit fantasy points in, like, I want to say 4 of their past 5. I can get you the stats in about 6 seconds. 5 of their past 6 games, they've scored at least 10 fantasy points. It's good. they're not bad. They're playing better. They're worth starting with Zach Wilson.
Okay.
For the Jets.
Okay. Well, that's it for this bonus pod. It was quick. Hopefully it was helpful. And we'll talk about it more. I'll get Dan Schneier and Jamie's opinion on it on the mailbag episode, which will air Saturday morning, first thing in the morning, 3 a.m. So, or if you're watching it, you'll see it's Friday afternoon. Thanks to Dave. Thanks to Zach Brook for setting up our bonus podcast. I'm Adam. Sorry, everybody. Talk to you later.